it's really fascinating, and you learn how that industry operates and how people search with it and the different behaviors. It's so insightful. So I think of the things that were pains for me, the things that made me want to leave. And I think, right, how can I fix those for my team? I think there's a lot of focus on keeping your team, and you need to do that in order to grow.
Yeah, it's a great way to kind of delineate, right? But the answer is, to me, in my opinion, is really spot on. You don't want all in one bucket or the other.
Yeah, and I think the SEO answer is,
our guest today is Matt Allfrey, head of SEO for EMEA at PMG. With over a decade of experience in SEO and 15 years in digital, Matt leads the SEO department of PMG's EMEA arm. Having grown a team from 6 to over 30 in the last 4 years, currently leads a team across technical and content SEO and digital PR. His career has spanned global SaaS, events, beauty, and financial services. Welcome to the show, Matt.
hi, thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Quite an interesting career path, though. I have to start there with SaaS and beauty and FinServe. That's an eclectic mix.
Well, I think you mentioned before about having a crazy history. If we go back even further than that, I started off in banking and then had a stint being a DJ before falling into SEO. So yeah, it's been all over the shop. But I guess I can't really be pigeonholed in terms of the SEO that or the brands that I've worked with from an SEO perspective. It keeps it fresh when you're across all of these different verticals.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would think, and I know from my own experience, having such a diverse background, it's helped me in the different roles because I can look at things through all the different lenses.
Yeah, I think it's important for personal growth. And then I think it's also very important at an agency level as well. If your agency gets pigeonholed as being specific to a certain niche, then as soon as that niche gets in trouble, or there's certainly not as much opportunity in it, then your agency finds it hard. So I know people who specialized in travel SEO, and then when COVID hit, they went down the drain. So yeah, I think it's really important from a personal and professional level to diversify as part of your SEO.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's kind of a tip really for anybody listening as well, right? To try to get as many experiences, as you can.
Yeah. So I've predominantly been agency side, and that's a brilliant place to get a whole raft of experiences because you're essentially just given whatever's thrust in front of you and you've just got to deal with it. You've just got to make it work. I mean, I worked on L'Oreal. I can't say that I would have sort of natively put myself forward for being a beauty and hair care and skincare person, but I learned loads. It's really fascinating, and you learn how that industry operates and how people search with it and the different behaviors. It's so insightful.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to bring up buyer behaviors, right, in one industry versus the other, and how you can call and draw on those depending on where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I'm particularly interested in around that is the length of a buyer journey. So L'Oreal, fast moving consumer goods, you buy very quick. I mean, nothing's that quick anymore, but as quick as it gets. Whereas SaaS could be years and years and years before you're sort of moving from in market to making a decision. It's roughly about 5% of people who are actually in market at any given moment. That's quite a small proportion of the market. And yet you think of the difference in what you need in terms of building confidence, getting in front of those people early on in the journey. So yeah, I find that fascinating, that different behavior, certainly from a length of the buying journey.
Yeah, exactly. Talk a little bit about now, have you worked, you're based in EMEA, but do you have experience in the US and other parts of the world?
Yeah. So one of our large clients is US SaaS company. So I was over in the US a couple of times last year, once this year, and probably again before the end of the year. So yeah, US is the target market for them. And again, really different as well, sort of surprisingly different to the UK, where we use the same language, but we have these kind of little nuances that make us different between the two. But yeah, exposure to the US market.
Exactly. Okay. Let's kind of pivot here toward SEO, right? Which is your bread and butter, if you will. I want to start with how do you grow an SEO team, right? You went from 6 to over 30 in just over 4 years, right? For those listening, right? How did you do that? What would you do differently? Let's just start there and growing an SEO team and an agency model.
Yeah. So I think the first thing you've got to be is backed by a good team. You're not going to be able to do this by yourself. And that's something that I learned early on. I was backed by an incredible SLT, and they helped as part of that. But fundamentally, there are things that are within your control as an SEO leader that are really important for you to anchor and to make sure that they stay consistent. And I think an SEO team is quite an introverted team typically. They're not quite often the same skill sets as people in other parts of marketing. And so it's really important to think about what they need as a team, as a group of people, and nurture that. So I came up through starting as an apprentice all the way up through the ranks within SEO. And that's led me to be quite what I would class as an empathetic leader and to understand what it's like to go through those different situations. So I think of the things that were pains for me, the things that made me want to leave. And I think, right, how can I fix those for my team? Because if I can keep my team and I can keep them happy, then they're going to stay on the accounts. They're going to do the best work that they can do. And then the clients are going to have a consistency around their service level, and we're not going to lose accounts. So I guess fundamentally, if I don't lose accounts, I can work on growing. If I'm trying to fill a leaky bucket, it makes growing a team much harder because I've got to fill a pipeline and I've got to backfill a team as well.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything you would do differently?
Oh, probably a bucket load of things to do differently. I think I would have been firmer on some people early on. I think there's a lot of focus on keeping your team, and you need to do that in order to grow. But I think that there were people I should have parted ways with sooner. And I would like to have been a bit braver in that decision-making process than I was. And that's definitely something. If I went back, there's maybe 2 or 3 people in my past where I go, look, let's not drag this out. You aren't the right fit here. I can't get you to be the right fit here. You're a great person. You're a great SEO, but you're not a great team member here. And you should just go.
That's not easy.
No. And you only learn that in hindsight as well. It's not something that you can see at the time. You're just like, oh, maybe I can get this to work. I just plug away a little bit harder. I just make this excuse for them. And it's like, they're not going to get there. They're really not going to get there. Yeah. I wish I'd seen that sooner and just cut ties.
Right. Which is really the best for everybody involved.
Yeah. I haven't helped them. I've made it harder for them as well. They've stuck around in a job where they're probably not feeling like they're sort of doing the best work of their career. And yeah, just pulling that plug and being a bit more honest early doors would have been beneficial for everyone.
Yeah. One of the things we talked about off the air was combining paid and organic into total search, as you called it. Can you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Yeah. So this is a huge conversation and I really enjoy having it because it means different things to different people. So total search can mean anything from any search that you make in any platform, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Perplexity, whatever it is. Or you can narrow the scope of that right down to just be somebody making a search within Google and whether you have an organic result there or a paid result or both, and you're trying to gain that customer in through one of those two means. So one of the challenges or one of the things that I like to tackle head on with people is what does it mean to them? Because quite often people will come in and say, let's have a total search strategy. And you're like, cool, but what does that mean to you? Well, do you want to look at Instagram and think about people that are searching on there and be found on there? Is your audience on there? Is that important to you? Is your audience on TikTok? Do they care about that? So thinking about what's important to them, what does total search mean? And then working out where can we actually test that? Where can we get data from where we can prove that that's a valid thing to look at? And it's going to drive whatever their KPIs are, mostly revenue. So that's kind of the funnest part, I think, is just whittling it down to, well, what do you mean? What does it mean to you? Mm-hmm. And from there, trying to establish some cohesive objectives. Like, what do you then want to get out of that? And a really fun part of the journey has been finding out that people don't want to save money. That was such a brilliant realization for me, is that if you go to a marketing director and say, I can save you £500,000 next year, they don't want that, because that will come out of their budget from the year after. Like they'll get £500,000 less next year. So we were looking at it from an SEO point of view. You look at efficiency, right? You think, well, we could pick that up and therefore you'd save this amount in paid search revenue, in spend. But actually, they don't want to do that. You've got to frame it in a way of, well, you could spend that £500,000 on reaching this audience over here. And so, yeah, it was a hilarious revelation, really, that no one wants to save money.
It sounds so counterintuitive, right? To hear that.
Yeah. And I think that's a bit of sort of going on a journey as a person and a professional, is you're thinking at a personal level, of course you want to save money. Who doesn't want to save money? But then you put yourself in the position of that director, and it means shrinking budgets for them. Nobody wants a shrinking budget. So yeah, it was counterintuitive at the time. And we hit like a couple of walls, really, of like, why is this product not working? Why are we not getting traction with this? It should be a no-brainer. We're saving them money. And then we had to flip it and be like, we're reaching £500,000 worth of people, rather than we're saving you £500,000 worth of fees.
Right. It's interesting. The budget thing, I don't think a lot of people think of it through that lens of, yes, it's great to save money, but then when I show my CFO that I spent $500,000 less, that means I'm going to get $500,000 less next year.
Yeah. It's such a revelation, but it's definitely one to bear in mind if you're going on a total search journey and you're trying to sell this into people, is that saving money is not what anybody wants. You've got to show them what the opportunity is to spend that money and what that means for them against their objectives.
Right. I'm curious regarding paid and organic, and I think you're a really perfect person to ask this question about. And do you get this from clients saying, hey, should I put my money in paid? Should I do it in organic? Should I do both? And does the answer, Matt, depend on, different factors, including industry?
If I had to give like a one word answer to this, the answer is going to be you need to put it in both, right? I don't want to say it depends. You need to put it in both. They do both serve different purposes, but you should do it strategically and think about where you're putting it, not just spray both channels as much as you can. I think it's very important that you go out with intent on how you spend that paid search budget and where you're going to put it right from the get-go. So if you're starting from absolute scratch and you've never invested in paid search and you've got some SEO visibility, then thinking very carefully about where you put that paid search budget based on what SEO visibility you have. If you're over-indexing on brand, or you've already got a lot of brand visibility through organic, which you should do, immediately question whether you need to go in with that brand paid search ad and test as well. Like there are heuristics, things that you sort of inherently think, okay, we probably don't need to spend this money, but always test, because the results are so surprising in every different vertical and every different niche. It's over and over. I get surprised anyway by what the tests reveal.
Yeah. And I think testing is such to me, overlooked a tool across any kind of marketing, not just SEO.
Yeah. SEO is a difficult one to test in, right? We can't do A/B tests in the typical fashion. And in order to test whether your paid search is running, you've got to rely on your paid search team being willing to effectively do all the testing, right? Because they can run A/B tests, they can do geo split tests, they can do incrementality tests. We can't do any of that. I can't turn SEO off in a certain region or show that region a different message if it's coming through to the same landing page. I don't have that flexibility. The best I can do is make a change and look month on month or period on period, or maybe if I'm lucky, slice a website down the middle and look at the two halves of the website individually. But yeah, so you're going to rely on paid search to do the testing, and you've got to do a lot of work to get them on board with that, because it's work for them. It's costing them sales. It's costing them money. So yeah, they've got to really love you.
Exactly. It's a good segue into what I want to talk about next, which is the reframing Hey, sorry for the interruption. We're going to get back to our show in one quick second, but stay with me. If you're in the need for anything SEO and or link building related, you need to do yourself one quick favor. You need to go to the website that's on the screen right now, stanventures.com. Go there, tell them Steve-O sent you. The rest will take care of itself. Trust me, you can thank me later. The value of SEO, right? And I think what we were just talking, I kind of scratched the surface a little bit about. I'm really curious to hear your thought about how do you reframe the value of SEO?
Yeah. So, I mean, what we were just talking about there is making sure that paid search feel the value of SEO as a team. Like they want to know that you're on their side and that you've got the shared objective. But the journey that I'm going on at the moment is looking at the places that have very successful levels of investment and thinking, if you're getting voluntary investment from people of millions and millions of pounds into, let's say, paid search or YouTube or upper funnel advertising, what is it that is so compelling about that message that people will sign that off and understand where that money's going without it necessarily being attached to ROI, although obviously you want it as close to that as possible? And how do we make SEO seem more like that? So what I'm doing is I'm looking across the aisle to paid media and I'm saying, well, you've got budgets of millions and millions of pounds and people sign that off in the blink of an eye and they've got no problem with that. So why can I not get millions of pounds worth of SEO work signed off for the same thing? And so I'm looking at the things that paid media are evangelizing. What metrics are they celebrating? How are they proving the value of those things and then absorbing them into our SEO workflows and saying, right, okay, well, this is upper funnel activity. Let's say it's creating informational content. It doesn't have a bottom funnel ROI attached to it. How would paid media sell this? How would they sell for it? And do we sell number of impressions? Do we sell reach? Do we sell clicks to a lower stage of the funnel? And looking at that and saying, right, okay, that works for that channel. Let's borrow that. Let's package it up and let's make SEO about that so that it speaks the same language as sort of marketers and budget deciders understand.
Yeah, when I thought about this topic, the reframing the value of SEO, I can almost replace the word value with, or reframing the value of telling a story. You know, I'm a marketer and writer, so I'm thinking of it from a storytelling perspective as well. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I love talking to my team about setting the narrative, and they kind of roll their eyes at me a little bit because they're a team that are based in data and based in facts, and they want, or I want them to create a story out of that. And that goes against the very fiber of their being. So it's like, what is the thing that you're trying to get across here that it's going to be successful for a client, that it is going to influence people higher up in the funnel? Like, what story do you need to tell? And how do you bring that out of the numbers that you've got in front of you? And certainly, as you go on a growth journey as an SEO, you go from being very data heavy, being very techy, understanding the minutiae of how websites go together. And then you've got to start layering up and having those more advanced conversations, which are, you know, this is what it means, or this is why this is important to you.
Yeah. It's funny you say that about, they're so, you know, it's the left side, right side brain thinking, right? And how to get people like that to understand that there's still a human being on the other end, that we have to tell this story and touch their emotions and everything like that.
Yeah. And SEO is not emotional. I mean, I've got a team of very emotional people, but when it comes to putting pen to paper or, you know, emails together and things like that, it's not emotional. Yeah. So in one way, spending vast amounts of money is quite an emotional thing, right? So the fact that we ask for relatively small, comparatively small budgets is quite an unemotional thing. And attaching emotion to that, again, is really important, but it's also quite difficult to do. The team are reticent to do it, and the person on the other end is maybe not willing to receive it either. Like, putting emotion into work, that's an odd balance to strike.
Yeah, it is. It is for someone who's left brain, right, to think about the right side and vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, I think my team have got one side of the head much bigger than the other.
I'm sure it's the same thing with if you're talking to like a creative department and they're not thinking about data. It's the same thing.
Yeah. I worked with somebody who had an interview question, which is, are you a scientist or are you an artist? And I was just really interested, like, I asked her, I said, what's the right answer to that? Because I'm very much a scientist. There has to be a right answer to that. It can't be, well, there's equal value in both. There's got to be a right answer. And she was like, of course there's not a right answer. And I was like, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. But she was like, it's not that one is more valuable than the other. It's that I need to make sure that I don't have an army of scientists or an army of artists, that I've got a mix that I'm happy with. And I thought that was a great interview question and a really cool way of splitting people.
Yeah, it's a great way to kind of delineate, right? But the answer is, to me, in my opinion, is really spot on. You don't want all in one bucket or the other.
Yeah. And I think the SEO answer is, I'm a bit of both, or like, I like numbers, but I also like telling a story. I disagree. I think SEOs are pretty hard in one bucket or other. So I was quite open with her. I was like, definitely a scientist, but like, what do you want out of this? What's your dream answer? And she was like, I just want honesty, really. I just want people to tell me what they are, and I'll work around the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Let's put your, predictions hat on, right? Where are we going with SEO? What's the future 3, 5, 7, whatever years you want to look ahead? So
I love this because you can say whatever you want, right? Like nobody's going to come back here in 7 years and tell me I'm wrong. And if they do, I wish I had the amount of free time that they have. But right. Yeah, so what I think is happening is, and all I'm really doing is drawing a straight line from what we're seeing now to its logical conclusion, which is we're seeing AI everywhere. And it is, quite frankly, a bit rubbish at the moment. I think we've seen a lot of early adopters kind of fall flat on their face, and the people that have tried to really go hard on it are having to kind of pull back and not get so involved. It's maturing, and it's maturing really quickly, and I'm super excited to see where it's going. But it's, in my eyes, it's not there yet for most of the things that I want to use it for. But I'm really excited about when chatbots, assistants are embedded in absolutely everything that we've got. It's already starting. You've got it in your phone, probably. I want it in my toaster. I want it in my fridge. I want it everywhere. Or I certainly want it to be able to talk to those things so that I can have this connected conversation across all of the data points in my life. Like, do I have cheese in my fridge? I can't remember. I don't want to text the wife and ask her that. So with all of that in mind, AI is not just going to be there when you need it. I think it's going to start preempting what we need and telling us, like prompting us rather than us prompting it. And I think that's the kind of end game, as it says, like, do you want stir fry for dinner tonight? By the way, you've got all of the ingredients in the fridge except for chicken. You need to buy that on the way home, or I can get it delivered for you by the time that you get there. Like, if you could take that level of cognitive load out of my brain, I'm all for it. The amount of meal planning that I do every week for 2 young kids is ridiculous. So I'd love AI to get to that point. And I don't think that's too much of a stretch for it to get there. So if it does, we're then not searching for those meal ideas. We're not searching, I don't know, through our shopping list to work out whether we bought cheese or we didn't. We're not searching at all. And that is a dangerous time for people that profess to be within SEO.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you're saying this, like a couple of things. One, I don't think the scenarios you're laying out are that far off.
Yeah.
The way things are moving as rapidly as they are. But then, followed quickly right behind that, what does that mean for folks, who are in SEO, and will there be less of a need, or will the need change?
Yes, is the answer. But it's not going to die. And I think every time I see the sort of SEO is dead clickbait, it's a bit eye roll.
I see it all.
So I'm not, I'm not professing that in the slightest. I think that all of the things that are really important today in terms of technical excellence so that your website can still be found, admittedly, it won't be being found by humans as frequently, but it will need to be served up to the AI. So the AI is still going to be doing a search. It's still going to be dredging something out of an index somewhere in order to cross-reference all of the ingredients that you've got in your fridge potentially against a recipe, that recipe still needs to be there. It's then also going to need to work out what shops are on your way home that sell chicken, for example, if that's the thing that you need in your recipe. So it's going to need to find those data points and connect them together. And it's going to do that by pulling them out of an index. So searches are still happening, but less by humans and more by AI. And it's our role as SEOs to not just anticipate what our users want, but anticipate how AI is going to anticipate what our users want, and then make sure that our content is applicable to AI to then get served via AI to these users.
What will the AI, now if you look at AI and then you look at paid and organic, right? Will it affect one over the other, you think, going forward?
Yeah, I'm going to be cynical here and say that it's going to affect SEO more likely than it will affect paid, on the basis that Google's got a revenue stream to protect. But what we've seen with AI overviews right now is that they're like the 7% of searches. They're not really being that disruptive to people that are making a search and then want to click through to a website. I think what's happening is just we're not seeing those searches happening. And if they're not happening, then you have to argue that that's equally disruptive to both paid and organic. Just that Google will be more incentivized to find a way to replace that revenue stream.
Interesting. What advice now, I'm going to give you the platform now to talk to marketers, right?
Okay.
And I talk to CMOs all the time, but just any marketer, and they're looking at, like you said, there's a lot of rubbish. I completely agree with you, by the way, when it comes to AI in general, not even AI when it comes to SEO. Just there's a lot of, let's just say, nefarious people out there trying to capitalize on the AI, right? It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, but it is what it is. But if you're talking to marketers right now and they come to you or they say, I know I should be doing something, or what should I be doing, Matt, when it comes to SEO and AI? Am I just monitoring what's happening? Is there something I should be doing right now? What advice would you give to marketers when it comes to SEO and AI?
So definitely monitoring, having a look at what's going on across your search queries and how frequently AI results are showing up. I would say also what's going on with search demand. So as I said, I think the number of searches being made will decrease. So keywords that maybe historically would have been really valuable are maybe going to decrease in value because more of that consideration, more of that journey happens within the AI. But more sort of tangibly, I would say just experiment with it. What can you embed within your processes that AI is really good at? It is good at some things. It's great at coding schema. So small chunks of code. It's great at that. It's great at writing micro copy at scale. It's great at being a jumping off point for kind of strategy and ideas, or just sense checking, that you've got everything wrapped up within your idea. And you'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot to include this in it. And, AI's given me this little reminder for it. So I think there's lots of places it can be used, whatever classes behind the scenes, like within your day to day, in processes to make things faster and more effective. I just wouldn't be looking to make any AI things kind of externally facing, certainly without a lot of human intervention right now. That's where the risk is for me.
That's a really great point about it's one of my fears, to be honest with you. Again, not even SEO, just agnostic AI in general, is we're going to become too dependent on it for everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that. In certain industries more than others, like renewing car insurance. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make a decision. I don't want to read all the terms and conditions. I don't want to go through that long, boring buyer journey. I want AI to know my driving habits and my risk profile. And I want it to go, look, based on what you normally buy, this is the cheapest place. Do you want me to get it? And I'll be like, yes. I just want to say yes. I don't want to click a button. I don't want to sign anything. Just yes, send me the email, get it done. Forgot about it. So I'm looking forward to certain aspects of AI kind of taking over and taking that rubbish out of our lives.
I completely agree with the noise, right? Just eliminate the noise, or let me control the noise that I hear or read, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so much so. I just think of all the things where I'm like, this is boring. I don't want to be doing this. I want to be spending time doing something exciting. It's like, that's what I want AI to be doing. It's not at the moment, but it should be.
I believe it will get there. I just don't know it. It could be in 30 seconds. It could be in, 3 years. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we were talking in LinkedIn about your confidence threshold, saying that it would get there probably faster than my confidence threshold, right? Like you think it's nearly there, or people are nearly ready to make that jump. And I think it may be going to take a little bit longer. And as I say, somebody can come back here in 7 years and tell us we were wrong or tell us who was right. But for me, it's going to be a bit like... For me, it's going to be a bit like Amazon, where everybody was afraid of buying online to start with. And then people were like, I'll buy online, but I'm not going to buy clothes online. And now when I go to buy something, I just go to Amazon straight away and I don't even check the other places that are for sale.
That's where you start your search.
Yeah. So this confidence will take a while to build in AI for you to go through a whole purchase journey within it. And that's what I think is going to be the delay, not necessarily the capability, but the buyer confidence that they're willing to take a leap to let AI do that stuff for them. So I think, we're probably both right that it will be possible soon, probably not default until 5-7 years down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, listen, my friend, this has flown by. What a great conversation. I can't thank you enough for coming on. Again, really engaging conversation. So I want to thank you for coming on and being our guest.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's been an honor. I really appreciated it.
You are very welcome, my friend. Have a great day. Hey, I'm the guy from the video you just saw. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Now do yourself a favor. If you haven't already, subscribe to our content. Believe it or not, unconfirmed rumors and reports, you will see an increase in 20% in organic traffic just by subscribing. Okay, maybe not, but it's fun, right? But do yourself a favor, really. Subscribe to our content. You won't be sorry. Thanks.